Now it is time to move on to our next session. It's a fireside chat on future of kids content in India, and we are in conversation with Ron Crasto, senior media consultant, and he will be joined by Leena Lele Dutta, business head Sony A. Can I have the panelists, the speakers on stage, please? Over to you, Ron.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone had a very good lunch and need some energies here. So if a yes comes louder, it's better. Else, else it'll put us to sleep here. What do you think, Leena?
I totally agree. I'm going to watch out for droopy eyes and sleepy faces.
So we already have a teacher in this session now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, I'm out of my office and home, so I should behave.
Great. So good to see all with faces, because last 2 years we were all with a mask and we didn't recognize who was what. Especially the eyes meet the eyes is what we used to say. But now today, with this session coming in, Leena would really thank you for being here, and also Siddharth and the IWN team. A little clap for them, because they actually got the activation of a similar event which happened 2 years back. Really, thank you, Siddharth, for making this happening. So here we go. Last 2 years has been great for kids. Okay, largely spending most of the hours on the Zoom call. So for kids, as they say, Z or Z for zebra, it was Z for Zoom. And also A for Apple, it was not A for Apple anymore, it was A for Apple with an iPad. So by and large, they used to spend a lot of time online. And with that, a lot of consumption used to happen. So we have the first question to ask you. How to reach kids directly with content today in a landscape of evolving content platforms and characters?
Yes, I know. It's been the bane of all content providers and content platforms to actually grab that kid and hold him and not let him escape. COVID has kind of thrown many challenges, but in challenges we sought solutions, right? So earlier our approach to production of content was more on the lines for catered for television audiences, which is, you know, primarily as per data suggests, it's more skewed towards boys in the age group of, 8 to 10. And that's also our bullseye TG. So all along from inception, we were programming for that bullseye TG, and we had an array of shows which really worked as well. And just before the COVID, we were so superbly poised to kind of reach the top 3 in terms of ranking. And then COVID hit us. COVID hit all of us. And the first 6 months, we were in complete disarray. We had absolutely no idea where the kids' eyeballs are going. Yes, we knew the adoption to technology in urban areas and because of school. And thanks to that, I mean, one kind of knew that there is going to be a spurge in terms of eyeballs on the digital platform, primarily YouTubes and all of those. And we quickly, altered our entire focus in terms of taking our content that already was on our linear play and all the content that we had banked, and launched 4 to 5 new YouTube channels, right? I mean, we got into a whole summer lineup of workshop for kids. We had people, actually, we did live action shoots with one of our talent, which is Lalon, for DIY workshops for kids. We had a yoga instructor. We had, a cookery show. And we created this gamut of differential programming, which was out of our linear programming, so that, you know, when the kid is not watching television, when the kid is out of his school time of 2 hours or 3 hours of being online, going onto YouTube, going and coming back onto television, we wanted to catch him in the entire, 12 out of the 24-hour cycle. And in fact, for us, it has always been evolving as, as the kids and the generation keeps shrinking. Like today, when we launched 5 years ago, the kids that we used to cater to and their preferences in terms of television watching content, in terms of character affinity, are different from what they want out of their local heroes and their characters currently, okay? So gone are the days of a 7 or a 6-year-old wanting to watch goody-goody content. They will only watch it because they know their mother is standing behind. And otherwise, given a choice, if their door is closed and if they are on their handheld device, it's going to be all badmash content. I mean, they want to see their actual life being, portrayed by some character, some friend of his, and they want to identify with that. And COVID as such has kind of restricted the kids to a lot of things. In an environment for the first year when the kids were only at home, parents were not even allowing them to go down and play in their building or their mohallas or whatever, they felt a sense of frustration in them. And they felt a sense of anger in them, that all the things that they actually enjoyed in terms of going to school, packing their bags in the morning, having fights with their friends over recesses and stuff like that, all of a sudden stopped. And they were confined in their house of 4 to 5 members, and each one had a viewpoint on how the kid should behave at home. School pe jao, online chalu karo, homework karo, acha theek hai, you have your time, you can go and watch television. So it was a time of madness and so much pressure for the kids that we did not realize as parents that it was affecting them in what would happen to them a year later once things started opening up. And we're seeing the fallout of it right now also, when kids are going back to school. There are cases that I can kind of relate to when my kid's class teacher comes and talks about incidences of aggression, and things like that. So content at that point in time definitely was curated and catered to, at least from a Sony Ye standpoint, to make sure that they are engaged, and we are catering to responsible content, whether it is online or through our linear play or through any touch points or activation. So that's basically how we evolved in COVID, and I can't say we are putting a full stop there. It's ever evolving and ever changing.
Fantastic. So I think rightly said, it is a very 360-degree kind of approach which you used during this time of COVID, where you actually activated all the marketing targets which was required when the kids were secluded at their own homes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, summer was the time when COVID hit us in the first cycle. That was the time when kids have their vacations, right? And they go out, they have fun, and they are in malls and they are outdoor. That particular BTL activation that we call it completely stopped for us. And they were at home, so we had to innovate, we had to reorient, and we had to kind of find different ways to reach out to our audience.
Great. So now let's talk about characters. We were talking about characters, and how do characters resonate with kids today? What I've seen is my nephews or my little cousins, they basically think they are Chota Beam, or they are thinking of some character what they are, be it Avengers, and they dress up like them. Does that entire lineage of character continues as they grow up, or it actually becomes a permanent space when they become older? So how do they resonate is the question I need to ask.
So characters actually relate to the kid's life cycle. If you are a 4 or to a 6-year-old, you love Peppa Pig, okay? Because he is a cute little piggy who's talking about different things, and somewhere down the line in the subconscious of the narrative, you're talking about good things that a kid is supposed to imbibe. he sees his elder sibling or his elder cousin or his elder person in the family watch a adult kind of a toon. By adult, I mean 7 to 10 is something that we cater to. For him, in his eyes, that's an adult toon. Whether it is, on our channel, whether it was a Honey Bunny at that point in time, or it was Kiko, or right now, Oba Chamakun, or Augie and the Cockroaches. He sees that, and then he shifts his affinity to identify certain character traits within the toon that he thinks are relatable to him personally. And that's how that connect happens, whether it is through a bond of friendship, whether it is through actually living vicariously through the eyes of that character and saying that, okay, fine, I can do these things, whether it is having a super speedo car as your go-to toy and basically giving it a life, like how Kiko did it in Kiko and Super Speedo. All these intrinsic traits that the kid actually has in his subconscious come out through the characters and the stories that we actually portray in our shows. So there was a show which was called Papometer for us, which is not there. It's a part of our IP. And there was Thakela, Pakela, and Bhoot Boss. They lived in the Bhoot world, and they used to sort out issues of kids, like cream biscuit mein se cream kisne churaya, that kind of trivial things, which it's trivial for us, but for a kid it is like, I'm buying a cream biscuit to have strawberry cream and it's not there, those kind of things, and those kind of stories, and those narratives which actually speak in his language and attend to what he is seeking attention for. That's what we actually talk about in all of our original shows. We have extensive research that we do before, in fact, commissioning a show, and find out the nuances. The good part about us is that we reach out to all the kids in their local language, right? So we have 7 language feeds going out. And that's how we kind of do our focus group discussions across these critical markets and find out what is the trend. What are the kids leaning more towards? What was the behavior of kids before the pandemic and after the pandemic? We couldn't do during the pandemic because, there were Zoom calls, and the kid used to get so fed up attending another Zoom call. So we used to not get insights quite accurately as to the way we had, envisioned. But now with everything opening up, we've in fact put 4 to 5 new shows of ours in production. And those shows actually are coming from the insights of the kids that we've gone and done in, research. So when you say a Chota Bheem, why even Chota Bheem in the animation world? You look at kids today, they are emulating WWE characters and WWE moves and, the what is the terminology they use, and there are role plays being done. There are actual role plays, kids actually kind of beat each other up, not literally, but they absolutely do any kind of a character, whether it is through in the kids' world or if it is an Iron Man or any other character. At some point in time, it touches the kid or the young adult or even us as adults, because we also as grown-ups identify with characters and stories, right? So, yeah.
So, fantastic. So, great insights. To get deeper into it, when you talk about characters, it's not a child's play. And one of the examples which I would like you to portray is basically Tarak Mehta Ka Chota Chashma. How that idea popped in. Because I know, I think this could be the first TV product which was inspired to make an animation in the current scenario. Because I do understand there was the movie Singham and many others which were followed. How did this so-called light came in, and how this is now traveling? I think off late, I remember that's coming on Netflix also. So can you walk through it, how you guys popped in this idea and how it is working currently with Sony A?
Sure. Nobody needs introduction to Tarak Mehta Ka Chota Chashma. I think the inherent grain of that show was that it was a family show. it had all the ingredients of what would take to make a good animated show if it was portrayed through the characters which resonated with the kids, which was Tappu and Daya Bhabhi, right? So when Asit Modi came to us kind of having a conversation whether we could do it, of course we jumped on the idea. I mean, it was a no-brainer. And we also kind of went into the whole immersive, internal group of us to figure out as to what is going to be so different about the animated version, and how is it that we are going to set context to the animated version and make it look completely different with the live action one. We could never have replicated the live action stories and the scripts as they were and replicated in the animation world, because they were talking a different language. Though the audiences of Tarak live action constitute a huge chunk of kids, but it was more on an account of also co-viewing that was happening in the homes at that point in time. Because it's such a vibrant, fun family show, it was imperative for all the generations to come at 8:30 in the evening and watch the show. And that is something which we wanted to break. We wanted to make Tarak for the Chota audience, and therefore the Chota Chashma lens. And therefore it had to be seen from the eyes of Tappu and his mother. So Tappu and mother and the Gada family, basically, So those were the 4 protagonists that we actually weaved our first season on. And we always knew from the start that Tarak was not going to rest on our grid perpetually till, like the live action. It would have come in bits and pieces, given that it would be an impact property for our channel, and it is an impact property for our channel. So we treated it also in terms of the marketing very, very differently. We treated it as a season. So the first season of Tarak was introduction of the 4 main characters. That's Tappu and Tappu Sena, along with Daya Bhabhi and the grandfather and the father. The second season, which we launched last October, was more with the character world of the entire Gokul Dham society. So then we introduced all the other characters and saw the world through their lens. But all across all the stories that we have done for Tarak, there has, the story starts with a conflict, which is the conflict seen through the eyes of Tappu. Because Tappu is the role model for the kids, and Tappu Sena is basically what they identify in terms of the character traits. That's the reason why we had to kind of spell a different narrative altogether when we, started even the first round of scripting for Tarak. And of course, the launch has been absolutely stupendous. Last year, same time, in April when we launched it, it was the top-rated show, and it, I think, still remains the top-rated show in the category. And it created tremendous buzz. When we got in for the second season also, it was #1 in its slot, and it still continues whenever we kind of have a binge of the episodes put in on weekends. It still continues to kind of rule the roost. We'll come up with our next 3rd season this summer. We're all prepped up for that with not only episodes, but there's a bit of a surprise, extended surprise for the kids on that piece as well.
Fantastic. That's very exciting. But talking about the IP, which is yours, do you see, in terms of language, is it still dominated Hindi, or is it moving towards regional? My whole question is, when can we see an IP which can travel not just restricted to India, but internationally? Can Tarak be the next, is what I am thinking. So tomorrow, will the audience, Spanish audience or the Portuguese audience or the Korean audience, just giving example, would love to watch a similar kind of shows like we see Doraemon, or we see other international shows which we like to resonate. So do we see those things moving as we speak?
Yeah, so in terms of cultural sensibilities and adaptation of that in the animation world, right? I mean, if that's what it actually comes down to, right? The Asian content or the Asian kids content, like your anime from Japan, which is your Obajama-kun and Doraemon and all of that, resonates a little better with India. Indian content, Indian characters somehow haven't actually made it in the mark over there in the international spaces yet, barring a few, like which are silent comedies. Like Nick had done Pakadam Pakadai, which went and traveled across the world, and it's quite a rage. It's Pakadam Pakadai in India, but across the world, it is of course sold internationally with that flavor. So if we are ready to create a silent comedy, which does not have a language and which can kind of have a universal visual appeal, which can relate, then I think we can look at our products being exported. And I think from a business standpoint, it is something that we have put in our plans for the coming year. While we cater to the Indian audience with our Indian IPs, I think very strongly there is a market which we feel there is a gap over there where we can actually come in and fill that in and see where it takes us, hopefully.
So now coming to brands, largely when it comes to the children's GEC channel or kids GEC channel, the entire revenue muscle is supported by ad. Okay. Do you see this continuing and growing in future one? And do you see ancillary opportunities coming in, be it licensing or merchandising or any other opportunities where you say ground activation, which is currently we are doing? Do you see that growing bigger and larger in today's scale of point? Currently, they have not reached a delta when it comes to ancillary opportunities because the entire revenue is now still dependent on ad support. So futuristically, would you think the mindset of a typical buyer or a planner or a marketer would change?
I think it should. Buyer and marketers are, I can't say about the media planners and buyers of that zone. I don't know when that evolution will happen in terms of the trading prices for kids' channels going dramatically up, considering it's the third largest GRP garner. This category is the third largest GRP garner, but then that's for a different conversation altogether. Where we see basically the revenue potential growing is definitely in ancillary. Currently, as we look at it over the past 4 years, at least for us, the average has been pretty much 50% ad sales, 40% are channel subscription revenue, and 10% as ancillary. And by ancillary, I mean revenue from YouTube and a bit of licensing, merchandising, BTL activations, regionalized activations that we do with brands and stuff like that. We see opportunity in ancillary and pretty much in the digital space with a lot of gaming opportunities. Gaming is a big thing that actually has taken, the only two categories that have really had a hockey stick curve in the pandemic was gaming and edutech. They've had exponential growth. So revenue-wise as well as eyeballs and MAUs-wise. And of course, the valuation of your edtech companies, we all know what they stand at today. But we see potential in the gaming piece. And by gaming, I mean gaming of our IPs that we lend on. We see potential in third-party content creation. We see potential in YouTube. We see potential in free or rather AVOD digital play. A huge potential over there. And that's what we're trying to kind of work consciously towards. I don't know, like I said, I don't know when that tilt will happen. But I think as a part of the entire kids ecosystem, we are not thriving over here, at least we as in Sony is not thriving over here to be a #1 linear channel. We want our footprint to be there across all media, across all lines of businesses, and create and curate content and opportunities and engagement for the entire kids universe.
Great. One more interesting question. Whenever we see heroes in most of the shows, they are very boy-dominated. Okay,
Yeah,
and
sadly.
this has always been watched, and also you did mention that yes, it's sometimes mostly skewed towards boys. Do you see a female or a girl-dominated content coming in so that we also have stories based on that? Because most of the time when we say girls, it's all said Barbie as, so-called, typical inverted commas, say, okay, the most common thing to do. So do you see an opportunity there, and as a business head and as the industry head, do you see one should also look at female protagonist or girl protagonist kind of content to come in?
Totally. In the international market, that has completely evolved and changed, right? I mean, you don't have your typical girl content like a Cinderella or a Moana also has kind of, the characters have changed leaps and bounds, and they are so relatable and they are so like today's girls. The tragedy of girls animated or girls kids content is that the girls adapt to watching their mothers' GEC shows so quicker than the boys. The boys don't have affinity towards GEC shows. They don't watch a SET or a sub or whatever. But the girl will sit with her mother, and watch those GEC shows. And they're not interested. I'm sure there are people earlier in the linear space who have made shows for girls. And, they just don't move the needle. They just don't move the needle. They are so glued on to watching the Saas Bahus on GEC. And there is a need gap. I totally agree that there is a need gap, and there has to be a way into it. It's just that also, we face a double whammy that, our BARC ratings are so skewed towards boys. So primarily from a programming perspective, we have to cater to that segment more. And, but yeah, like I said, we are looking at opportunities. We are creating, in fact, 2 shows with girl protagonists. We will see how that goes from a pilot testing point of view, and then we'll take a call whether we need to put it on our channel. But
Fantastic.
I would love to take that risk.
Fantastic. Good initiative. So this is the last question. So all said and done, what should be the area of focus come 2 years down the line? I mean, where do you think one should really look at and cash in that opportunity? Depending on what's your destination which you're trying to vision out.
Yeah, I've got a very aggressive destination for myself and for my team. So, and which is good because, at the end of the day, we currently as content providers and being engaged with the kids, we're talking about, Generation Alpha, which are born 2010 onwards, right? The cord cutting over there in urban cities for these kids has already happened. We know that it is going to be a matter of time when it is going to seep into semi-urban areas, and each kid will have a device of its own. And with smartphones and 5G coming in and all of that getting cheaper, the play is, of course, going into, I wouldn't say 2 years we'll create a robust metaverse or NFTs and stuff like that. That's where the rush is right now. But yes, we'll definitely want to have our, a piece of the pie in all the revenue opportunities that are out over there. And currently, as we speak, I'm putting the footprint together for that and kind of looking at the business not only from a linear angle, but more into the zone of, a kids business that is a, full-fledged business to cater to where kids are and where, their 2-year horizon is going to be. Gaming, NFTs, various other things that you and me don't even know that today's kids, a 5 or 6 year old kid, when they become 8 and 9, the whole dynamics is going to change. The whole, like I said, the generation of the kids is just shrinking. And what a 5-year-old thought 5 years back is definitely not what he's thinking now.
So I think, do you see a CID junior in the offing then?
Oh my God. I think you're the 100th person who's asked me that. No, we do see a CID junior in the offering, but unfortunately for kids content, we can't have blood and people killing each other. So it'll have to be a different format.
Got it. Great. I see Siddharth giving me indication. We would like to talk more, but I think it's been great. With the world of things being changing, be it with the ALML space, the research, TV formats being taken as
Totally.
fiction, the world of NFT, metaverse, all these new words are going to be the next year's conversation to put across. But having said that, it's been a great run for you guys, and congratulations to you and your team. And we really thank each one of you to be part of it, and we look forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for hosting me over here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.